Well, for some analysis on President Erdogan's visits to Africa, let's bring in Mukerrem Miftah. He's a lecturer of policy studies at the Ethiopian Civil Service University, and he's joining us from Addis Ababa. Mukerrem Miftah, really good to have you with us here on TRT World. So President Erdogan will not be visiting Ethiopia on this tour of Africa, but just lay out the importance of the Turkish government's interaction and engagement with African nations.
I think Afro-Turkey relations is very foundational for a variety of reasons. And we know that since 2002, Turkey's global role and influence has increased tremendously, and particularly that has become more robust and significant in Africa in general, and the Horn of Africa in particular, and the different parts of Africa, basically. There are three important areas in which Turkey's involvement is becoming significantly important. One is in the area of humanitarian assistance. The second is in the area of development assistance and provision. And the third and very important dimension of the Turkish engagement in Africa is trade and investment. In these three important domains, Turkish engagement in social capital development, cultural capital development, and in financial capital development, it has shown and moved significantly in the right direction. And I think Turkey is becoming one of the most important players in Africa in general, and the Horn of Africa, including Ethiopia in particular.
Mukerrem, let's just answer the question that many people have on their minds when it comes to foreign nations engaging with Africa. The relationship is often one-sided, and African nations don't get as much from those kind of relationships as they potentially can. Now, Turkey is very keen to say that it's a reciprocal, even-handed relationship. What's your opinion on it, and how the Turkish government and the Turkish relation with Africa is different to other nations, perhaps China, for example?
Yeah, well, I think this is a very important question. For one thing, unlike many of the Western countries, England, France, and the United States in particular, Turkey's engagement in Africa has always been really based on a win-win approach in economic and political terms. And second, unlike many of the Western countries who are currently engaging in Africa, including the Asian tiger, the Chinese engagement in Africa, what makes somehow the Turkish engagement in Africa is it begins its engagement through humanitarian assistance and development engagements. So many of the African countries, including countries in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia is one of them, they have long been really providing all the necessary humanitarian and development assistances to the countries in Africa in general, and the Horn of Africa in particular. Countries like Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Djibouti has always been under serious cause of concern as far as food insecurity, war, and things of that sort is concerned. So unlike many of the Western countries, including the United States, I think the developmental aid and the humanitarian assistance that's being rendered by the Turkey was largely without necessarily being attached to a particular string, really. So for that reason, I think Turkey is getting significant support from many of the African countries, including the Horn of Africa countries in particular. So that's, I think, is somehow distinct from the engagement by the Western countries. The other, perhaps a very important point would be that many of the Western countries, including England and France, they have had their own colonial legacies, and therefore many of the African countries, intellectuals and elites, don't necessarily see them as a genuine partners. They have been part and parcel of a system of colonialism that was exploiting resources from root to branch as far as Africa is concerned. So when it comes to Turkey doesn't necessarily have that sort of experience in Africa in general, and in the Horn of Africa in particular. Therefore, when it comes to genuine bipartisanship, partnership between Africa and Turkey, it is largely organic. It's largely beneficial for the both countries, for the both actors involved in this arena. I mean, Africa and Turkey in general.
Okay, Mukerrem Miftah, just finally then, of course, it's always worth reminding our viewers that the area where modern Turkey now stands has had hundreds, if not thousands of years of connections with the Horn of Africa. Those connections, of course, run very deep. And Coming from Ethiopia and the current situation that's taking place there, how important are these kind of outside of the United Nations or African Union bilateral relations with countries like Turkey for nations like Ethiopia right now, do you think?
I think Ethiopia, since the last, 3 years, has been under massive chaos and challenges and things of that sort, given the shift in political dynamism from the earlier TPLF-led EPRDF regime has now been ousted, and now the central government is under the control of the Prosperity Party. And it seems to me that the current government, despite all the challenges and the legitimacy-related problems, is keen to work with international genuine actors, like Turkey is one of them, India, Russia, and China, obviously. So, unlike countries like the United States, who has been, unfortunately, pushing significantly hard on the current government. But I'm not saying that the current government doesn't have problems and challenges in its operations in the country within Ethiopia. I mean, that we have war with the TPLF on the northern front. Then there are some insurgent groups in the different parts of Ethiopia. But in spite of working with the government in settling the instability in the country, they were pushing hard on the federal government, really, to make it somehow incapable in securing and maintaining peace and security and order in Ethiopia. So United States has been, I would say, in the last 5 years, has been against the political order in Ethiopia, and therefore the relation with Turkey, India, China, and Russia has been largely beneficial to the government now ruling the country, and the role of Turkey in really promoting peace, security, order, and development in the Horn of Africa in general, and particularly Ethiopia in particular, is very foundational. And I should mention that in the Ethio-Turkish relation, goes as far back as to the first part of the 15th century, during the Khilafah, the Caliphate, Suleiman al-Qanuni, and since then there were a number of interactions in different domains: trade, investments, intercultural communications, and things of that sort were really building up. And I would say the second important period in Ethio-Turkish relations was started following the advent of the AKP party in Turkey, which has opened for the first time in Turkish history a new episode, and that episode really helped nurture a strong sense of solidarity, interaction in economic and political terms between Africa in general and Turkey in particular. And therefore, when it comes to Ethiopia, the Turkish investment has been significant. I think it's now far beyond $1 billion. Turkish engagement as far as humanitarian assistance and development cooperation and assistance has been increasing significantly, and I would say many Ethiopians are grateful for Turkey's involvement and engagement in the Horn of Africa in general and in Ethiopia in particular.
Okay, we heard, of course, there about the memorandums of understanding, the various areas where Turkey sees that it can work with Angola and with various other nations in Africa. But I wonder, I don't want to try and lump every African nation together, of course, but can you give us a sense as to how a visit like this with such a high-level delegation from the Turkish government will be viewed in capitals across the continent?
Yeah, I think one of the ways in which you strengthen relations between countries is through organizing events like this, to have direct visits and talks with important policy makers and decision makers who will ultimately condition the way how the relation between the two actors continue. And in that particular regard, the engagement by Turkey and Angola at this particular point in time, I think, will pave the way for a more, meaningful and strong relations between Africa and Turkey in general and Angola in particular. And I think that has been the case with Recep Tayyip Erdoğan in parts of Africa, particularly the Horn of Africa. He has always been there in some ways. We remember that Erdoğan was one of the few global leaders to attend to problems like Somalia, which have had strong, really very serious poem as far as growth in family is concerned, and they were the ones who were there physically and making important donations, humanitarian aid and assistance, which has since been really making the country more stronger, more powerful. And I would say the reconstruction effort by Turkey in Somalia is very important, and I think the same thing is likely to happen in parts of Africa where Turkey sees opportunities for mutual growth and development.
Okay, Mukerrem Miftah from the Civil Service University of Ethiopia in Addis Ababa. Do appreciate your analysis, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.